Tucked into the conifer hills of central Oregon along the South Umpqua River is what some say is the most remote Seventh-day Adventist academy in North America, Milo Adventist Academy. This rural campus sits at the foothills of the southern Cascade Mountains. There is no cell phone reception, the internet is spotty, and the nearest grocery store is about an hour's drive away. But the lack of convenience is made up for by the beauty of the location. The secondary boarding school was established in 1954, and over the years, more than 3,000 students have walked through the halls, lived in the dorms, and graduated from the program. But more than 5 decades of educating young people has taken a toll on the physical campus, which is why Randy Thornton, principal of Milo, contacted Maranatha more than 4 years ago.
I've been aware of Maranatha for decades, growing up in Adventism and seeing the amazing work that they've done for a long time. And I got to admit, I just saw an opportunity for Milo to be blessed with a lot of volunteer labor. We had a lot of things that we needed here.
The first year welcomed a group of high school students on Ultimate Workout, a mission trip for teenagers. The Milo Project was the first time Ultimate Workout was held in the United States rather than overseas, and the experience made an impact on Randy.
The thing about Maranatha that has really captivated me, I'm certainly grateful for all of the incredible physical plant work that gets done, but your motto of building people and the way that I see people changed in serving is just incredible. And so that really, we keep on hoping that we'll get a project every summer because we've got a lot of things we'd like to accomplish for God's kids here at Milo.
Randy's hopes were fulfilled. Maranatha renovation projects at Milo have become almost an annual tradition. But in 2020, the streak was about to be broken because of an unexpected threat called COVID-19. By early March, the novel coronavirus had been declared a pandemic, and the U.S. government began to unroll a series of travel restrictions. Most Maranatha projects had to be postponed for months. But by early summer, in the United States, some areas were starting to open up for carefully monitored activities, and volunteers were getting antsy to serve. So when the annual Milo project started creeping up on the calendar, volunteers started knocking on the figurative door. Leroy Kelm is a longtime volunteer and leader for Maranatha projects. Like the typical Maranatha volunteer, he's one who can rarely sit still.
Well, I just knew that what I can get the list that Lisa sends me, and it seemed like it grew and grew and grew, and people I talked to said, I need to get out of the house, because I did call a few people and say, what do you think? And they said, well, I'm getting bored. I need to get out and get doing something. So let's get out and do it. So most of the people I think are really receptive about getting out and let's get something done.
Ed Jensen is a Maranatha board member and volunteer. He has served as the project coordinator for multiple Maranatha projects, and he was slated to lead Milo.
I went on a project in February to Alabama, and then I had 3 projects lined up in April and May, but those months are totally blocked out. So June was the next month after April and May, and I thought, well, they'll probably block out June too, because the outside statistics of COVID infections and all were going a little crazy. So I fully expected this one to never happen. But then nobody was saying no.
After a thorough discussion with leadership, site visits, and research on Oregon guidelines, Maranatha decided to move forward with the project in faith and with a long list of protocols for safety and health. Soon, there were 50 volunteers registered, the maximum number of people allowed to gather under COVID-19 rules for Douglas County, where Milo Academy is located. Given its rural location and low number of cases in the county, Milo appeared to be an ideal site for a first project during COVID. As Ed looked through the volunteers, he saw that a number of them were medical professionals. Quickly, he began calling and asking them to be part of a medical team for safety.
I was a nurse for over 30 years, but I was an infection control nurse for 25 years. At first, when Ed called me, I thought about it for a minute, and then I said, well, you know, Ed, I've done this a long time. It doesn't take too long to get my brain back working. So I said, and I had worked with Ed before, so I said, yes, I'll do it. I'll do it.
I just, in asking questions and discussing with our project coordinator, and the questions I was asking, it became obvious that I'm a physician and that I had some background experience with COVID and planning, and so then I was asked to just kind of be a meeting of the minds, so to speak, of a group working together to come up with all of our different background information to put together to see if we could come up with the safest plan for everybody.
Arlene, Michelle, and 2 more nurses, Lori and Julie, formed a medical team. Together, they created a system of safety checks.
In the mornings, we take their temperature and they use hand sanitizer. We do it again in the evening and do the hand sanitizer. We record just that, yes, they passed, not what it was, but just that they passed. We want to have a trail so that if Douglas County Health Department does show up, we have proof that we are monitoring and tracking everybody. There's markers on the floor when they come in the door, and we have our own hand sanitizer separate from the one on the wall. And then you go through line. We keep our 6 feet away. We wear masks in the tray line, and then we clean the tables, chairs after every meal.
One thing that I was really grateful for is that that Ed Jensen, in behalf of Maranatha, was #1 concerned about our population, our kids. And you know, we've been all here together, so again, we already know what we don't have, but as more people come on from outside, he was very concerned about making sure that we were safe and that we were comfortable, and I was really grateful for that.
With the safety protocol in place and in practice, volunteers could focus on the work. It's a work that Milo is grateful for.
So the scope of the projects this year is 2 house remodels, our oval that keeps the students dry in the wintertime from the wet rains is being refaced and re-sided so that it doesn't rot away and fall away on us. So that's a big plus. And there's a lot of renovating going on in the girls' dorm rooms, painting, decorating, refinishing cabinets that are starting to look rough. So we have like 8 major buildings on the campus oval proper, plus 13 acres we mow, plus we have a 400-acre property, plus a junior camp. And we have 1 maintenance person that takes care of all of that. So the idea of the projects person, which is myself, is to do the projects that maintenance would never ever look at because there's just not enough time and hours in a day because they're so busy taking care of the rest of the campus. We really want to thank Maranatha for coming because without them, it would take us a lot longer to improve our campus. And every year we can see improvements, but it improves much faster and much better with Maranatha's help for 2 weeks because 50 people in 2 weeks can do a lot more than one person can do in 52 weeks.
Year by year, the campus is changing for the better, thanks to Maranatha volunteers. With every project, the family of students, faculty, and staff get stronger too, as they have the privilege of people investing in their community. But campus renovations aren't the only things happening on these projects. With each Maranatha mission trip, another community is strengthened and built: the volunteers.
Well, I believe that it's important to maintain some semblance of normalcy even amid a pandemic. It's needs don't go away just because there's a pandemic, and many projects have already been canceled. So I think it's important to make a start somewhere and get out there and start maybe stretching God's promises and calling on Him to say, Lord, we want to continue this organization and continue our volunteering and go ahead and step out in faith and do the work that you've called us to do.
When we come back, hear more about the unique community found on North America projects and how the experience is touching people's lives.
Mark your calendar. September 19 is Mission Maranatha, a television broadcast event. Beginning at 2 p.m. Pacific, you will discover firsthand how Maranatha Volunteers International has advanced the mission in 2020. At 4:30 p.m. Pacific, the doors will open to a virtual meet and greet, a time for you to see your Maranatha friends, a time to find out how you can get involved. Mission Maranatha will bring you fresh reports from India, Kenya, Zambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Brazil, and North America. You'll witness the remarkable stories of volunteers and answered prayer as the world courses through rapid change. Mission Maranatha, September 19 at 2 p.m. Pacific on the Maranatha Channel, 3ABN, and Hope Channel. And be sure to register for our 4:30 p.m. virtual lobby. The mission is calling. The mission is Maranatha.
After a long spring season of sheltering in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic, by summer, Americans were anxious to jump back into life. While most were eager for haircuts, beaches, and restaurants, Maranatha volunteers were eager to serve. Given the remaining restrictions for international travel, the best option for mission trips was more local. Each year, Maranatha organizes about 60 projects a year, mobilizing more than 2,200 volunteers each year to countries around the world. And almost half of these projects take place in the United States or Canada. Called North America projects, these mission trips are different from the international ones in that they do not require a participation fee. Except for travel, food and lodging are covered in exchange for the volunteer service. This arrangement has made it easier for people, especially retired folks, to go on multiple projects a year. Susie Fox is among these repeat volunteers in North America.
I had retired early, so I decided I needed to do something to keep busy. And I did a few by myself, and then when my husband retired, he really needed something to keep himself busy, so we got involved with Maranatha in 2010, and we've done anywhere from 3 to 6 projects a year since then.
2020 was no different. Susie and her husband Fred had planned to serve on a number of Maranatha projects in North America and one overseas until COVID hit.
We were looking forward to going back to Paradise because we had done that one in the fall. And we were very disappointed when Maranatha canceled that one or basically postponed it. And so we were hoping they wouldn't postpone the Milo one. Milo is special to us, both my husband and I, because we went to school here and we graduated a long, long time ago. And it has been always a special soft spot in our heart for Milo. We always try to come and help them. And this year we have about 8 or 9 of us that are alumni from our generation of attendees here at Milo. And we feel like that had we not come to Milo, who knows where we would be today, whether we'd still be in the church or, so we feel like Christian education is important.
But while this project is extraordinary because of her personal connection to the place, Susie Fox says each Maranatha project is personal in how it creates belonging and a sense of purpose.
We do the projects because as time has gone on, we have developed a family. A lot of the same people come on the projects, and it's just our second family. It keeps us busy. We like doing things with our hands and feel like that we're doing something for God or for the community. And this is one thing that we could do. I'm not an evangelist or out, giving Bible studies necessarily, but this is something we really feel like that there's a need and we enjoy doing it.
As a retired missionary and contractor, these North America mission trips are all in Leroy's wheelhouse. And as a fellow doer, these projects keep him busy. But Leroy says it's about more than the work and activity. It's about the people.
As I've traveled and met people and talked with people, there's a lot of people that come to Maranatha are broken. they have broken families, they have broken relationships, and there's just a lot of stories out there that when they come here, they're accepted. Nobody judges them from what their past was or where they've been or what they've come through. They just love them and say, hey, you're part of our Maranatha families.
The COVID guidelines for this project have made it particularly difficult for Leroy, as he finds it hard to not hug his old and new friends and practice social distancing. But even with these new limitations, the community is still being built. Michelle is on her second Maranatha project and her first with her family. As a physician, she had reservations about the project, but felt reassured by the safety protocol in place and the isolation of Milo's location. She also felt the project would be a good way to introduce her kids to service.
I have two 12-year-olds and I have a 15-year-old who are unable to go to school right now. So my 15-year-old is a sophomore in high school and he is thrilled. He's able to learn from some of our contractors and retired tradesmen and is just excited to be able to be of use. And the younger two as well are excited to be of use. Of course, they're young and they're energetic, and so they always bring something to the project.
As a physician, Michelle did plenty of research before bringing her family to Oregon. Ultimately, her decision was motivated by the importance of community.
We have this time together, and time is something that is one of our most precious resources. The money doesn't matter, the job title doesn't matter, the certain accomplishments that we work so hard for in a day, they really don't matter. But the time together and the time to be able to be together as a family is really precious. And then to be able to join together with other members of the community, like-minded, keeping our distance, being safe, protecting each other as we work together. I read an article that said we don't social distance, we physically distance. Times are uncertain and the stakes are high. But if you think about it and you go back through history, it's not the first time. And what we're building with Maranatha will outlast COVID, and it will outlast us. And so I think what we ultimately decided is that the best we can do is to listen conscientiously to our leaders and come together as a community and do good works. And that's what I hope my kids take away from the trip, is that we have to come together as a community, and it is upon us to do good works.
This community is what has drawn the same volunteers on multiple mission trips. When we come back, we meet a man who has found new community in service through Maranatha.
Some companies spend millions of dollars to bring you these sounds and images. These sounds and images are created from the dollars you give to Maranatha. Your support of our well drilling efforts is bringing clean, accessible water to communities in Africa, India, and Brazil. Because while this sells soda, this saves lives.
For more than a decade, Maranatha Mission Stories has taken you around the world, showing you the need and challenging you to get involved. Now we're introducing new ways for you to stay informed and inspired about the mission. Watch your favorite episode of Maranatha Mission Stories, as well as other Maranatha videos on your Apple TV. Visit the App Store, search for the Maranatha channel, and hit install. You'll have access to all of our latest video content, and you can watch anytime. Our videos are available on demand 24 hours a day. Our content can also be viewed on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. The Maranatha channel, bringing mission adventures to your living room.
All of Maranatha's mission trips focus on building community. not just for the people who are being served, but those who are serving. Friendships created on experience are what makes each project so special. And while these relationships are formed on international projects, the ones formed through North America mission trips are arguably stronger. Since these mission trips are mostly free, volunteers can participate in multiple experiences a year, which means they see many of the same faces on the projects. The familiarity contributes to deeper and long-lasting friendships. This special community is why Wesley Wilson loves Maranatha. Wes is a relatively new volunteer, but he is discovering an unexpected dedication to this lifestyle.
Well, I'd heard about Maranatha back in probably the 80s and the 90s, and I thought, oh, I would like to do that, but I couldn't afford it, raising a family.
Fast forward a couple decades, and West was retired and a widower.
Well, I watched 3ABN quite a bit, and what's her name? Hillary Messias. She was on there, and she would promote Maranatha and you need to come and all that. And it's kind of like the Lord was saying, yeah, you better go. So I put it off. And I watched another one, and it got more stringent, more urgent. Okay, Lord, I'll go. And that wound up being the Vancouver project. So I loaded it up, and I went up to Vancouver, Washington, and drove up there, and oh wow, boy, do I really want to do this?
Wes was nervous until a fellow volunteer came up and gave him a big hug to welcome him.
I like the fellowship and the friendship, and the more that I worked, the friendlier it got, and I enjoyed the work. The part of feeling included with people is a big part of the human experience. But people who join Maranatha, you become part of the group. You make friends with them. They treat you as an equal, and they welcome you at every step of the way.
This sense of community is what draws thousands of people to Maranatha mission trips every year. Some come in search of adventure. Others want to stay active. All come seeking a purpose and a way to give back, even in the midst of a pandemic.
Well, one of the things about Maranatha is that the people that are part of Maranatha, they want to be a blessing. They want to serve. And it's just amazing to be with people who love the Lord and want to be a blessing to others. It's just invigorating to be among a group of people like that.
The coronavirus pandemic has certainly upended the service aspect of Maranatha that we all love. It's hard to predict when Maranatha volunteer projects will return to normal with a full schedule of opportunities for service. For now, we're taking it one project at a time. Yet most of Maranatha's construction projects have always been built by our local in-country crews, and now more than ever, they are needed to continue the work. Since March, these teams have been building churches, schools, and water wells in countries like India, Brazil, Zambia, Kenya, and Côte d'Ivoire. Whether in Milo, Oregon, or Abbé-Broquois, Côte d'Ivoire, the work has never stopped. And this mission needs your continued support. Please make a donation to Maranatha as we carry forward this commission. After all, we may cherish the joy that comes with service, but the ultimate goal of Maranatha is to build people, communities, and the gospel throughout the world.